the Educational Successful Club series, and one that is near and dear to our heart. And that is, why should we care about being a distinguished Toastmasters Club?
Yes.
Thank you, Jim.
Madam Timer, I'm not quite sure, but let's say it's 5 to 7.
Okay.
Jim will be
It says 10 to 15.
It says 10 to
fantastic.
15.
Good evening, ladies.
Good afternoon.
Good
So I would like to take
afternoon.
just a small portion of your time here and talk to you about Toastmasters Distinguished Club Program. Now I'm going to be talking about the program. The program is available to you. You can go to the Toastmasters site and download it at any point in time. It's actually fairly descriptive. It goes through a lot of detail about it, and so I'm going to cover it at a fairly high level, because what I want to do today is to introduce you to the program, and hopefully, if I do my job well, get you interested enough and that you'll go find out more. So in Toastmasters, as you well know, we're all part of a club. Well, that's fantastic. That's wonderful. We get along with each other. We like each other. We enjoy coming to our Toastmasters meetings. We're terrified of actually giving a speech, but yet still we keep coming. So that's all good stuff like that. Now, the good folks up at Toastmasters headquarters realized that time goes on in terms of clubs. And so every single club has a health. And some clubs are healthy, and some clubs are not so healthy. Right? And, you know, this club, I apologize, because you don't really get a good shot of what it looks like when a club's unhealthy. This club in the past, and I was trying to remember when it was, maybe 2005, 2006, was seriously unhealthy back in the day. Okay? Clearly it has come back, and it's actually doing quite well now. But is it always going to be doing well? Probably not, because clubs have their peaks and valleys and stuff like that. And the question is well, how could you tell, right? Now this is your club, right? You own, literally, this club. And so you'd like your club to do as well as possible, right? You'd like it to be a good, thriving club and stuff like that. But the question is, how can you really tell that? I mean, if you're having a good time, number one, that is actually critically important. But you want the club to exist. It would be very sad if you showed up one day and it was just you. So we want to make sure that doesn't happen. So I'm going to talk to you about the Distinguished Club Program. And the Distinguished Club Program is all about keeping your club happy and making sure that you get the most out of Toastmasters. Next slide, please. So remember, we're members of Toastmasters, and Toastmasters is all about your personal growth, or at least on one level, it certainly is. Now there's actually two different tracks, hopefully, that you're making progress on. It's really easy to remember that we all want to become better speakers, and that's why there's 4 separate goals, let's call them, that we achieve for speaking. When you first start out, you're going to become a competent communicator, then you go bronze, silver, and gold. Congratulations. Meanwhile, at the same point in time, you can be working on your leadership skills. And remember, leadership skills are what you'll actually apply back at the office. So that's like a little bonus. And there's 3 components to that. And then, of course, at the tail end, when you've done everything that you need to do, you can become a distinguished Toastmaster. So I believe there's a total of 8 different things. Something interesting that I just recently found out, and Toastmasters doesn't do a really good job of explaining this, but what does it take to become a distinguished Toastmaster? It turns out it doesn't take anything to become a distinguished Toastmaster. There's no specific thing that you have to do to become a distinguished Toastmaster. You simply have to get your Advanced Communicator Gold and get your Advanced Leader Silver, and then you are a DTL. Pretty cool, huh? All right, next slide, please. So in our club goals, Toastmasters understands that the number one, let's call it, threat to a club is that it doesn't have enough members. Right? Now we're doing pretty well, yay, that's good stuff, but lots of times you'll find clubs that have a few members, or had a bunch of members but shrunk down and stuff like that. So a big part of what goes on as far as determining the health of your club is how many people are participating, okay? And the goal is that by June 30th, which is the end of the year when it comes to a Toastmasters club, you want to have at least 20 members. And Eric, I think we're doing pretty well on that, aren't we?
We are currently at 19.
19, so we could use another member. Sue, if you'd like to go ahead and join. But right, so we're real close to where Toastmasters wants us to be, which is great. That's exactly what we're supposed to be doing. Next, please. But they also understand that not every club's going to be hanging out at 20, so they've got another requirement that says, listen, even if you can't get to 20, then the next thing we want you to do is to have a net growth of at least 5 new members in the year. Okay, that's cool. For this club, that doesn't really much matter. We're going to be focused more on that 20 thing. But if we were smaller, or if we were struggling, if we only had 5 members, we'd want to get up to 10 or 15 or what have you. Next, please. Okay, so during the course of a year, 12 months, there's a few goals that Toastmasters sets for the club. And they're made up goals, okay? There's no question about it. But the concept is if your club is working towards these goals, then your club is healthy and it's growing and it's doing well. Let's talk about what the goals are. First off, 2 competent communicators, 2 more competent communicators, 1 ACDM bronze, silver, or gold. Keep going. 1 more okay? 1 more of those. 1 competent leader, advanced leader, bronze, gold, silver, or DTM. 1 more. Boom. Okay, what's interesting on this is all, we've probably seen this before, okay? What it shows is that people in the club are making forward progress. An interesting thing to realize is 10 speeches, 10 speeches, 10 speeches, 10 speeches, so we're at 40 speeches here, and then this is external stuff. So in your club, people have to have given at least 40 speeches before you can achieve these goals. Next, please. You want to have 4 new members, 4 more new members, which is a total of 8 people joining your club. Keep going. Minimum of 4 officers getting trained, and the last thing is making sure that you turn in all your paperwork. What's interesting about Toastmasters and their desire to have people join the club is if they're assuming you have about 20 people in your club, what they're looking for you to do each year is to add 25% to your club. You're like, wow, that seems like sort of a large number. Where does that come from? And where it comes from is the good folks at Toastmasters have taken a look at clubs. Times change, people switch jobs, people get laid off, people move to different states, things go on. And what they've discovered in the average club, you're going to have a turnover of about 25% of your members. 1 out of every 4 members is probably going to leave the club during the course of a year. So Toastmasters thinking ahead says, listen, you want to be bringing in about 25% of your members, because at the end of the year, you should once again be hanging out at about that 20 level. Next, please. Okay, so what can we achieve as a goal? Well, as a club, we have, if you're sick, what do you do? One of the things you do is you take your temperature, right? And if it's, 98.6, you're fine. If it's high, you're hot. If it's cold, all that sort of stuff like that. Toastmasters has a similar sort of thing. To take the temperature of your club, what you do is you take a look to see how many of these goals you've achieved. 5, 7, or 9, okay, at least. If you've achieved 5, then you're distinguished, and congratulations, you're doing the right things. If you've achieved 7, congratulations, you're actually really doing the right things, and we're select distinguished. And by the way, if you get 9 out of 10 or even 10 out of 10, you reach into a very elite group. A lot of clubs have struggles to get this, but your president's distinguished. And Eric, I think we've been president's distinguished a number of times. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
Excellent. So we can still be president's
See it
distinguished.
from
Next,
the banner
please.
outside.
So, the Distinguished Club program is available on the Toastmasters site. It explains the goals, the rules, and the plan. Once again, the plan is what you have to do to achieve these different levels of success. Next one, please. Okay? It lists 10 goals that we just went over. It helps determine how you can actually achieve them. Knowing the goals is important, but figuring out how you're actually going to make it work in your club is actually critical also. Allows us to set additional goals. Just because we have some goals doesn't mean we can't have more. For example, we've done some very creative things as far as having special sessions where we invite people to join us. We've set out flyers, we've done stuff above and beyond. Next. Outlines strategies for achieving the goals. You can't achieve it if you don't have a plan. And identifies resources that we can use to help achieve goals. We're not in this alone. We're in an area that has a bunch of other clubs. We can certainly draw on them. We're part of a district, and the district has resources, and we can bring all those to bear if we run into problems or if we need additional guidance or acceptance. Next, please. Okay, and of course, you can write down all your tips. The interesting thing about this is that if we come up with a good way to achieve what we want to achieve as far as our president's distinguished goals, it would behoove us, I just want to use that word.
I like it.
It's a sort of a fun word, to write down how we did it, right? Because time will go on, we all will move on over time, but it would be great if we could pass it on to the members who come later on who want to achieve the same thing, but they may not have a clue as to how to do it. All right, next please. Okay, what's in it for you? Ultimately, if your club is doing well, you benefit. What does that mean? Well, it means you come to a club, you give a speech, and you get a really good evaluation, and you get good feedback from everybody who's there, because you got a lot of people there, right? The other thing is that even if you don't speak, you have a chance to hear other people speak, and you learn from their speeches, right? So Toastmasters is about you speaking, but also about you watching other people speak and growing from that. So a good club is all about you benefiting. So it's really important to you that you have 20 members and that everybody's moving forward and everybody's giving speeches, because it makes your life better. Next, please. Okay. Every member, and this means you, has a responsibility to be looking for new members. You know people who should be here. In fact, I think I sent out an email to everybody. It was what, Elon Musk? Mr. Billionaire dude, giving his little speech about his little home power thing. Did anybody watch that?
I did.
Man, so he's a billionaire. Congratulations, that's really impressive. He sucks at giving speeches, okay? You know, once again, and it's a great speech. I mean, I really want to hear what he has to say, but he does not do a good job. He needs to come here, okay? But we'll work on that later on. All right, next one. You got our Chief Educational Awards. Remember, you can come and sit here forever and do nothing, right? You can also come and just give speeches and not achieve anything. What we want you to do is to be working towards a goal. That's the key thing. Next. You can be trained as a club officer. Remember, that's the secret sauce to Toastmasters. If you become a club officer in Toastmasters, it means that you're actually contributing to the club, but you're also developing skills that you'll be able to use in all your other responsibilities outside of Toastmasters. You can also submit your officer list by the deadline. Simple to do. Lots of clubs don't do it, but if you do it, you automatically get credit towards your President's Distinguished Club. And I think there might be a little bit more. New members mean new ideas. New members mean new personalities, which is always quite interesting. And educational growth means that you become a better speaker, which is why you're willing to invest, here it comes, 50 hours a year, roughly, into Toastmasters. 50 hours a year. That's like 2 days sitting here doing this. Wow, that's a lot. Next. Educational growth means you improve leadership. You get a little bit better at everything you're doing. And then, of course, all the other clubs in Toastmasters become wickedly jealous of you because of what you've achieved. And doesn't that make you feel good? Pow. And that's it. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, sir. Perfect timing for Jim to give this speech. I'll give you the $20 later. No.